Your boyfriend already ordered for you." The waitress set the plate in front of me, smiled at Ethan, and walked away before either of us could correct her. The whole table went quiet for half a second. Then everyone started laughing. I felt heat crawl up my neck. "Wow," Jenna said, lifting her glass. "Even strangers see it now." "See what?" I reached for my drink too fast and nearly knocked it over. Across from me, Ethan looked completely relaxed. Of course he did. He leaned back in the booth, one arm stretched across the seat behind me, wearing that stupid little smile he always got when he knew I was uncomfortable. "She's not wrong," he said. My stomach tightened. "Excuse me." He nodded toward my plate. "I did order for you. That doesn't make you my boyfriend." "No," he agreed, glancing at me. "Knowing you hate onions does." The table broke into laughter again. I forced myself to join them because that was what I always did. Ethan made a joke. Everyone teased us. I pretended none of it meant anything. We'd been doing that for almost 4 years. Ethan and I met after college through mutual friends, and somehow he had slowly worked his way into every part of my life. He had a key to my apartment. I knew the alarm code to his bar. He texted me when he got off late. I kept his favorite coffee in my kitchen even though I hated the brand. Normal best friend stuff. At least, that was what I kept telling myself. "You two are basically married," Marcus muttered through a mouthful of fries. Ethan reached over and stole one from my plate. "Mason would make a terrible husband. You literally remind me to pay my electric bill. Because you'd live in darkness without me." His knee bumped mine under the table. He didn't move it. Neither did I. That was the problem with Ethan. He touched people easily. A hand on a shoulder. An arm around someone during a photo. A quick hug when he hadn't seen you in a while. It was just how he was. Friendly. Warm. Completely unaware of what it did to me. Or maybe I was the one making it complicated. I shifted my leg away and reached for my drink. Ethan's eyes followed the movement. Only for a second. Then he looked back at the table. By the time dinner ended, I had almost convinced myself the moment meant nothing. Outside, everyone split off toward rideshares and parked cars. Ethan and I started walking toward my apartment because, apparently, even that had become predictable. "You know," Jenna called after us. "Most couples at least hold hands." I raised one finger without turning around. Ethan laughed beside me. "She's got a point. Don't start." "I'm just saying, we could commit to the bit." "There is no bit. Right?" His voice softened slightly. "We're just friends." Something in the way he said it made me look over. His hands were buried in his jacket pockets. His expression was casual, but his eyes stayed on mine a little too long. My chest tightened. I looked away first. Exactly. We walked half a block in silence. Cars moved through the intersection ahead of us, headlights sweeping across the sidewalk. I could feel him beside me, close enough that our shoulders brushed once. Then again, neither of us stepped away. When we reached my building, Ethan stopped near the entrance. "Mason?" "Yeah." He tilted his head, studying me like he was trying to decide whether to say something. Then his mouth curved into a smaller smile. Would it really be that weird if we were? My heart kicked hard against my ribs. If we were what? He held my gaze for 1 second. 2. Then he laughed and bumped my shoulder. "A couple. Relax. I'm kidding." There it was. The escape route. The joke that made everything safe again. I laughed too, even though it sounded wrong. "Yeah, that would be weird." Ethan nodded slowly. "Right." But when he turned to leave, he didn't look convinced. And for the first time, neither was I. For the next 3 days, Ethan acted completely normal, which somehow made everything worse. He still texted me when the bar closed. He still sent me pictures of terrible customer tips with captions like, "This is why I hate people." He still showed up at my apartment on Sunday morning carrying coffee and the kind of confidence that suggested he had never asked whether dating me would be weird. I opened the door and stared at him. "You look disappointed." He held out a cup. "I brought peace offerings." "For what?" "Whatever crime I committed in your head." I took the coffee. It was exactly how I liked it. 2 creams. No sugar. "You are very annoying. And yet you keep letting me inside." Ethan walked past me and dropped onto the couch like he lived there. He was wearing my gray hoodie again. I had given it to him one cold night almost a year ago, and somehow it had never made its way back into my closet. "Is that mine?" I pointed at it. He looked down at himself, pretending to be confused. "This?" "Yes. That. Pretty sure it is mine now. You have your own clothes." "Not like this one." I sat on the other end of the couch, trying not to notice how the sleeves covered part of his hands. What is so special about it? Ethan reached for the television remote, then paused. His eyes moved to mine. It smells like your apartment. My chest went tight. The room seemed to shrink around us. That is a weird answer. You asked. His mouth twitched, but he did not look away. For a second, I forgot what we had been talking about. Then Ethan turned toward the television and started scrolling through movies like he had not just said something that would replay in my head for the rest of the week. I told myself he meant detergent, or coffee, or the cheap candle I kept burning near the kitchen. It did not mean anything. Ethan always said things without thinking. That was all. By Monday afternoon, I had almost convinced myself. Then my coworker Rachel saw my phone screen. Ethan had sent a picture of himself standing behind the bar, holding up a badly made cocktail with the caption, "Come save me." Rachel leaned over my desk. "Your boyfriend is cute." I locked the screen too quickly. "He is not my boyfriend." "Really? Really?" She gave me the kind of look people used when they thought I was lying to myself. "How long have you two been friends?" "Almost 4 years. And he texts you during every shift." "Not every shift." My phone buzzed again. Rachel raised one eyebrow. I did not check it until she walked away. Ethan had written, "You ignoring me now?" I typed, "Working." His reply came immediately. "Rude. I miss you." My thumb froze over the screen. Before I could decide what to say, another message appeared. I miss having someone here who judges my music." There it was again. The joke. The easy way out. I stared at the words longer than I should have, then sent back, "Your music deserves judgment." That evening, I stopped by the bar after work. Ethan spotted me before I reached the counter. His whole expression changed. Not dramatically, just enough. His shoulders relaxed, and his smile became softer. "There he is." He slid my usual drink across the bar without asking. "You remembered." "I remember everything about you." My fingers brushed his when I took the glass. Neither of us pulled away right away. Ethan looked down at our hands, then back at me. "What?" I managed. "Nothing." His voice dropped quieter. "You just get nervous around me sometimes." My stomach flipped. "No, I do not." "Mason." He leaned closer across the counter. "You are nervous right now. You are doing it again." Ethan's hand was still resting against mine across the bar. I looked down, then pulled back so quickly I almost knocked over my glass. "Doing what?" "Pretending you are not nervous." His mouth curved slightly, but he was watching me too closely for it to feel like a joke. Before I could answer, someone called his name from the other end of the counter. Ethan held my gaze for one more second, then stepped away. "Do not disappear." That should not have affected me. It was a normal thing to say. Probably. I stayed for another hour anyway. By Friday, our friend Jenna had added both of us to a group chat about her engagement party. The invitation included a form for guests and their plus ones. I filled mine out during lunch and left the second name blank. 2 minutes later, Ethan texted me privately. "Why did you not put me down?" I stared at the message. "Because you are already invited." "That is not the point." "What is the point?" The typing bubble appeared. Vanished. Came back. "Everyone already thinks we are going together." I leaned back in my desk chair, suddenly too aware of Rachel sitting 3 feet away. "That sounds like their problem." Ethan replied almost immediately. "We could make it easy." "Make what easy?" "Let them think it." My stomach dropped. I read the message 3 times. Then another one arrived. "For one night. They stop asking questions. We get free food. Everybody wins." I should have said no. Instead, I typed, "That is a terrible idea." His answer came back. "So you are in." The party was held the next evening in a small hotel event room downtown. I met Ethan outside because he claimed I could not be trusted to arrive on time. He was already waiting near the entrance in a dark blue suit, one hand in his pocket. The second he saw me, his expression changed. He looked me over slowly, then went quiet. "What?" I checked my jacket. "Is something wrong?" "No," his eyes came back to mine. "You look good." The words were simple. The way he said them was not. "You clean up all right too." My voice sounded thinner than I wanted. Ethan smiled and opened the door for me. Inside, Jenna spotted us almost immediately. There they are. My favorite fake couple. Ethan placed a hand at the small of my back and guided me through the crowd. The touch was light. Barely there. My entire body noticed it. "You okay?" he murmured near my ear. "Fine. You are doing the nervous thing." "I am not nervous." His thumb moved once against my jacket before his hand fell away. "Sure." For the next hour, We committed to the lie far too easily. Ethan brought me a drink without asking what I wanted. I fixed his crooked tie. He leaned close whenever the music got loud, even when he could have heard me perfectly well. Nobody questioned us. That was the unsettling part. We did not have to perform much. During photos, the photographer waved us closer together. "Come on, guys. You look like co-workers." Ethan laughed and wrapped an arm around my waist. My breath caught. "Better." The photographer nodded. "Much." Mason turned toward him a little. I did. Ethan's face was suddenly inches from mine. His smile faded. The room around us blurred into voices and music. "You still okay?" he whispered. I nodded, but neither of us looked at the camera. The flash went off. The photographer lowered it and thanked us. Ethan's hand stayed at my waist. 1 second, then 2. I looked down at it, then back at him. His eyes were already on me. "We are kind of good at this," he murmured. This time, neither of us laughed. Neither of us laughed, and that was when I knew we had taken the joke too far. Ethan's hand was still at my waist. The photographer had already turned toward another group, but he did not move. Neither did I. For 1 second, the room seemed quieter than it was. I could feel the warmth of his palm through my jacket. "Ethan." My voice came out lower than I expected. His eyes dropped to my mouth, then lifted back to mine so quickly I almost convinced myself I imagined it. "Yeah." Before I could answer, Jenna appeared beside us holding 2 champagne glasses. "There you are." I was starting to think you disappeared to make out somewhere. Ethan's hand left me immediately. I stepped back so fast my shoulder hit the edge of a chair. Jenna looked between us. "Wow, that joke landed weird." "You have terrible timing," Ethan muttered. She laughed, handed him a glass, and moved on without noticing what she had interrupted. I noticed. So did Ethan. For the rest of the party, we stayed close without touching. Somehow that felt worse. Every time someone called us cute, Ethan smiled. Every time I looked at him, he was already watching me. By the time we left, I could barely remember a single conversation I had with anyone else. The ride back to my apartment was quiet. Ethan sat beside me in the back of the rideshare, his knee pressed against mine whenever the car turned. Usually he would have made some comment about the playlist or the driver's air freshener. That night, he stared out the window. "You are quiet," I finally said. "So are you." "I am always quiet." "Not with me." That hit harder than it should have. When we reached my building, Ethan followed me inside without asking. That was normal. At least, it used to be. In the elevator, we stood shoulder to shoulder, watching the numbers climb. His sleeve brushed mine. Neither of us moved away. Inside my apartment, Ethan loosened his tie and dropped his jacket over the back of the couch. I hate these things. Engagement parties? Ties. He tugged at the knot, making it worse. "Hold still." I stepped closer and reached up to fix it. My fingers brushed the warm skin at his throat. Ethan stopped breathing for a second. So did I. The knot came loose, but my hand stayed there. His eyes were on me now. Not joking. Not looking for an escape. "Mason." He said my name quietly, and my chest tightened. "What?" He leaned in just enough that I could feel his breath. His hand lifted, almost touching my wrist, then stopped. For one dangerous second, I thought he was going to kiss me. Worse, I realized I wanted him to. Then fear rushed in. Fast and sharp. I dropped my hand. "You should probably go home." Ethan's expression closed before I could take the words back. "Right." He picked up his jacket, but paused at the door. His hand rested on the knob. "Did tonight feel fake to you?" Every honest answer got stuck in my throat. Of course it did. The silence after that was brutal. Ethan gave one slow nod. "Right." He left without looking back. The next morning, I checked my phone before I even got out of bed. There was no message from him. By Wednesday, Ethan had officially become busy. Not actually busy. Ethan was always busy. The bar did not run itself, and half his staff treated schedules like suggestions. But this was different. His replies came hours later. One word at a time. No late-night complaints. No random pictures. No "you alive?" when I forgot to text back. I told myself the space was good. Necessary, even. Then I started checking my phone every 10 minutes like a teenager. "You two fighting?" Rachel leaned against my desk Thursday afternoon, holding a folder against her chest. I kept my eyes on my computer. "Who?" "Do not do that." "Do what?" "Pretend you do not know exactly who I mean." She glanced at my phone. "You're not boyfriend." My jaw tightened. "Ethan is not my boyfriend." "Right. And I only come to work for the free coffee." I gave her a look. She did not move. You used to smile every time his name showed up, she added. Now you look like someone canceled Christmas. Nothing happened. That was almost true. Nothing had happened. That was the problem. Rachel studied me for another second, then lowered her voice. Sometimes people joke because saying the real thing feels too risky. My stomach dropped. You are reading into it. Maybe. She pushed away from the desk. You probably are too. That night, Jenna texted the group about drinks at Ethan's bar. I almost made up an excuse. Then Marcus wrote, "We need to confirm whether the happy couple survived the engagement party." Everyone added laughing emojis. Ethan did not reply. I should have stayed home. Instead, I showed up 20 minutes late and immediately regretted it. Ethan was behind the counter talking to a guy I had never seen before. Tall, clean cut, green jacket. He leaned in when Ethan spoke and touched Ethan's arm when he laughed. Ethan smiled back. Something sharp twisted under my ribs. It was ridiculous. Ethan could talk to whoever he wanted. He was not mine. He had never been mine. There he is. Jenna waved me over. We were starting to think the breakup rumors were true. There was no breakup. I slid into the booth beside Marcus. Because there was no relationship. Marcus glanced toward the bar. Might want to tell Ethan that. My eyes went back before I could stop them. Ethan had noticed me. His expression changed, just slightly. The smile faded. His gaze held mine across the room. 1 second. 2. Then the guy beside him touched his shoulder again, and I looked away. You are jealous, Jenna whispered. I am not. Mason. He is talking to someone. That is allowed. Nobody said it was not. Her voice softened. But you look like you want to leave. I did. I stayed another 15 minutes out of spite, which only made things worse. Ethan kept glancing toward our table. I kept pretending not to notice. Finally, I grabbed my jacket. I have an early meeting. On Friday. Marcus looked at his phone. At 9. Very important meeting. I was halfway to the door when fingers closed around my wrist. Not hard. Just enough to stop me. I turned. Ethan stood behind me, close enough that I could see the tiredness under his eyes. Why are you avoiding me? His voice was quiet, but there was no joke in it. I am not. You have barely looked at me all night. You seemed busy. His gaze flicked toward the guy at the bar, then back to me. Something clicked in his expression. Wait. His thumb shifted against my wrist. Are you jealous? My heart started pounding. No, Ethan stepped closer. Mason. I pulled my hand free. I said no. The hurt on his face lasted less than a second, but I saw it. So did Jenna, judging by the way she suddenly looked down at her drink. Ethan's jaw tightened. Fine. He moved aside. I walked out before he could see how badly my hands were shaking. Behind me, nobody laughed. I made it halfway down the block before I heard the bar door open behind me. Mason. I kept walking. Not because I wanted to leave. Because if I stopped, I knew I would say something honest. Ethan caught up near the corner and stepped in front of me. The cold air had turned his cheeks red, and he was still wearing the black button-down from his shift, sleeves pushed to his elbows. Move. No, you are working. Tyler can handle 5 minutes. I looked past him toward the street. Go back inside. Ethan did not move. You think I came out here because of Noah? My eyes snapped to his. I do not care who he is. That is not what your face looked like. You do not get to decide what my face means. His jaw tightened. Then tell me. Cars passed behind him, tires hissing against wet pavement. I shoved my hands into my jacket pockets so he would not see them shaking. There is nothing to tell. You have been avoiding me since the party. You stopped texting because you told me it was fake. His voice dropped on the last word. That shut me up. Ethan looked away for a second, rubbing a hand over the back of his neck. He did that when he was nervous. I had seen it 100 times. I had just never realized I could make him nervous. I did not know what you wanted me to do after that, he admitted. Pretend nothing happened? Nothing did happen. His eyes came back to mine. That is not true. My chest tightened. Ethan, you fixed my tie, and then you looked at me like. He stopped, exhaling hard. Like what? Like you wanted me to stay. The sidewalk suddenly felt too narrow. You are reading into it. Maybe I am. He stepped closer, not enough to touch me, but enough that I could not pretend this was a casual conversation. But you were jealous tonight. I was not. Noah is my bartender's cousin. He was asking about a job. Relief hit me so fast it embarrassed me. Ethan saw it. Of course he did. His expression softened, but only slightly. There, he murmured. That. What? You care. I looked away. You are my best friend. Is that all? The question landed between us, and stayed there. I could hear music from inside the bar every time the door opened. Laughter, glasses clinking, normal life continuing while mine quietly fell apart on the sidewalk. What do you want me to say? Ethan's voice got quieter. I want you to stop acting like I imagined it. Imagined what? The party. Your apartment. The way you look at me when you think I am not paying attention. My heart started pounding so hard it made me lightheaded. He took another step, then stopped himself. It felt real to me. I stared at him. Ethan swallowed. Not all of it. Not at first. But somewhere in the middle, I stopped pretending. For a second, I could not speak. Every excuse I had used over the last week disappeared at once. Then why did you pull away? Because you told me it meant nothing. Hurt flashed across his face. And I did not know how to go back to normal after that. I should have told him the truth. Instead, fear reached my mouth first. Maybe we should stop acting like a couple. Ethan went completely still. The warmth left his expression. He nodded once, slowly. Maybe we should. Then he stepped around me and walked back toward the bar, leaving me alone with the exact answer I thought I wanted. For the next 10 days, Ethan and I became very good at proving we were only friends. We stopped arriving together. We sat on opposite ends of the table when the group met for dinner. He no longer came over after closing the bar, and I stopped keeping his coffee in my kitchen. Nobody mentioned it at first. Then Marcus looked between us one night and frowned. Did you two break up? Ethan stared at his drink. I forced a laugh. We were never together. Could have fooled literally everyone, Jenna muttered. The table went quiet. Ethan stood a minute later and claimed he needed to help behind the bar. He did not look at me once. I told myself that was better. Clean. Simple. Exactly what I had asked for. Then Sunday morning came, and I reached for my phone before remembering there would be no message from him. No picture of burnt toast. No complaint about customers. No "you awake?" Even though he knew I always was. My apartment felt wrong without him in it. Too neat. Too quiet. His favorite mug was still in the cabinet. I almost moved it, then left it exactly where it was. That afternoon, Rachel found me staring at my phone again. You know this is miserable to watch, right? I am working. You have been on the same email for 20 minutes. I closed the window. I made the right decision. She pulled out the chair beside my desk. Do you believe that? We have been friends for years. I do not want to ruin that. Looks pretty ruined already. I looked at her. She softened. I am not trying to be cruel. I just think you are scared of changing something you already lost. I hated that she was right. 2 nights later, rain started just as I was leaving the office. My car would not start. I tried the ignition 3 times, then rested my forehead against the steering wheel. The battery had been acting up for weeks. I opened a roadside assistance app and was still waiting for it to load when headlights swept across the parking lot. Ethan's truck pulled in beside me. My chest tightened before I even saw him get out. He walked through the rain carrying an umbrella and my old gray hoodie. Rachel called me. He explained. You did not have to come. I know. He opened the passenger door and held out the hoodie. Put this on. It is yours now, remember? Mason. His voice was tired, not angry. You are freezing. I took it. The fabric still smelled faintly like his detergent. You could have sent someone else. Ethan looked at me for a long moment. Rain tapped against the umbrella above us. I did not want to. My throat went dry. He crouched near the front of my car and checked the battery while I stood beside him, holding the light from my phone. Our hands brushed when I passed him the jumper cable. He pulled away first. That hurt more than I expected. 10 minutes later, the engine turned over. Ethan closed the hood and wiped his hands on a towel from his truck. You should replace that battery. I know. Another silence. Thank you. He nodded. Sure. He started to walk away. Panic hit me. Ethan. He stopped, but did not turn around. Are you sorry? The question came out before I could stop it. He looked back slowly. About what? The party. What you said outside the bar. Any of it. His expression changed. Not regret. Something closer to disbelief. I thought you were. I was scared. My voice barely worked. That is not the same thing. Ethan stepped closer, eyes fixed on mine. Then why did you make it sound like it was? I had no answer. He looked down, exhaled, then met my eyes again. I do not regret it, Mason. His voice was quiet. I regret that you made me think I should. Then he handed me my keys and walked back toward his truck, leaving me standing in the rain with the truth I had been trying not to hear. I drove home with Ethan's words stuck in my head. I do not regret it. By the time I got to my apartment, the rain had slowed, but my hands were still shaking. I sat in the car for almost 5 minutes before I finally picked up my phone. Come over. I stared at the message before sending it. No joke. No excuse. Just the truth, or at least the first piece of it. Ethan replied a minute later. Are you sure? My chest tightened. No. Come anyway. He knocked 20 minutes later. I opened the door, and for a second, neither of us spoke. His hair was still damp from the rain. He had changed out of his work shirt, but he looked just as tired as he had in the parking lot. You okay? His eyes moved over my face. No, that got his full attention. I stepped aside. Ethan came in, but he did not head for the couch like he normally would. He stayed near the door, hands in his jacket pockets, like he was not sure he was welcome. I hated that. I miss you, I said. The words came out too fast. Ethan blinked. I forced myself to keep going. I miss the texts. I miss you showing up here without asking. I miss you stealing my food and leaving your stuff everywhere. His mouth moved like he wanted to smile, but he stopped himself. Mason. No. Let me finish. My heart was pounding hard enough to make me dizzy. I told you it was fake because I was scared you did not mean it. Then you told me you did, and I got more scared. Ethan looked down for a second. Of me? Of losing this? I gestured between us. Whatever this has been, you were already losing it. His voice was quiet. I know. The room went still. I could hear the refrigerator humming behind me. Ethan took one slow step closer. Noah really was just asking about a job. I know. You looked like you wanted to punch him. I did not. He raised an eyebrow. Maybe a little. That finally pulled a small laugh from him. It disappeared just as quickly. Was it jealousy? I swallowed. Yes. Ethan's eyes held mine. And the party? It did not feel fake. He exhaled, almost like he had been holding his breath for days. Good. That is all you have to say? No. His hands came out of his pockets. I liked it when people thought we were together. My chest tightened. Ethan stepped closer again. Then I started wishing they were right. I looked down at his hands. They were tense at his sides. Why did you keep joking? Because every time I got close to saying something real, you looked terrified. I was terrified. I know. His voice softened. So was I. That hit me harder than anything else. Ethan was never supposed to be the nervous one. He was supposed to be easy, certain, untouchable. But standing in my apartment, he looked just as lost as I felt. I do not know what happens next, I admitted. Neither do I. That is not very reassuring. I am trying to be honest. He moved close enough that our shoes nearly touched. I do not want to go back to normal. My throat went dry. Me neither. Ethan lifted one hand, then stopped before touching me. He waited. I closed the distance myself and took it. His fingers tightened around mine, warm and careful. We stood there in silence, looking down at our hands like they belonged to someone else. Then Ethan looked up. So what are we now? I squeezed his hand once. Not pretending. For the first few days, nothing changed. At least, that was how it looked from the outside. Ethan still complained about customers. I still kept his coffee in my kitchen. He still stole the blanket when we watched movies. The difference was that now, when his knee touched mine on the couch, neither of us pretended not to notice. When he left after midnight, he squeezed my hand at the door. When he texted, home, I smiled at my phone instead of acting annoyed. We did not rush to name it. I think both of us were afraid that saying too much would scare the whole thing away. Then Jenna invited everyone back to the same restaurant where the waitress had mistaken us for a couple. Ethan read the message while sitting at my kitchen counter. You want to go? Do you? He looked up. Only if we are not doing the weird opposite side of the table thing anymore. I laughed. That was your idea. It was a terrible idea. Most of yours are. Ethan reached across the counter and took my hand. No hesitation this time. And yet you keep saying yes. My heart did that familiar, stupid thing. Not to everything. Working on it. At dinner, nobody said anything when we sat beside each other. That lasted maybe 30 seconds. Then Marcus looked at our joined hands under the edge of the table and nearly choked on his drink. Jenna followed his gaze. Her eyes widened. Oh my God. I almost pulled away. Ethan's fingers tightened around mine before I could. Not hard. Just enough. A quiet reminder. Stay? So I did. Are we allowed to ask? Jenna leaned forward, smiling like she had been waiting for years for this exact moment. Ethan glanced at me. He was giving me the choice. That mattered more than I could explain. I took a breath. You are allowed to stop being smug about it. Marcus pointed between us. That is not a denial. No, I admitted. It is not. The table erupted. Jenna clapped. Marcus demanded credit. Someone in the back shouted that they had called it 2 years ago. Ethan laughed beside me, his shoulder pressed against mine. For once, I did not feel trapped by everyone looking. I felt relieved. A few minutes later, the same waitress from before came over. She looked at Ethan, then at me. Recognition flickered across her face. Your boyfriend want his usual? Ethan smiled but stayed quiet. My pulse kicked once. Then I nodded. Yeah, he does. It was such a small sentence. Nothing dramatic. No speech. No promise about forever. Still, saying it out loud changed the shape of everything. Ethan looked at me like I had given him something fragile. Under the table, his thumb brushed across my knuckles. Boyfriend, he murmured. Do not make it weird. Too late. He grinned. I like it. Good. Say it again. I rolled my eyes, but I was smiling. We fell back into our old routine after that. Sunday coffee. Late-night movies. Random texts from the bar. Ethan leaving his hoodie at my place, even though we both knew he was never getting it back. The habits stayed the same. Their meaning did not. Looking back, I do not think there was one moment when we fell in love. It happened in pieces. A remembered drink. A hand at my waist. A question neither of us could answer honestly. Everyone else saw it before we did. Maybe that was because we were too busy protecting the friendship to notice it had already become something more. We had spent years pretending we were only friends. Then we spent weeks pretending we could go back. In the end, choosing each other was not loud. It was Ethan keeping hold of my hand when everyone looked, and me finally not pulling away.